Mamis, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dania and you are watching a spicy mommy turned chef video. Once I decided that I was going to be making this for dinner, I was like, why not record and share this super delicious and easy recipe with you guys. This is not my original recipe. It is a recipe that I actually found on YouTube. So I will actually link the original video down below. I have adapted a couple of things and also learned a couple things. The reason why I liked it so much is because it's super easy. It only includes a few ingredients. Everything is done with just the one pot, and I love one pot recipes, like especially caldos and soups and all of that. That is one of the reasons why I like them so much. I feel like it's because they're so easy to make. First thing that you're gonna need is gonna be some beef with the bone in. You can either use like beef ribs. I chose to use what is called beef shank, I guess in English, but basically it's chamorro. Got 2 pounds of that, and then I'm using 4 pounds. You could use between 4 or 5 pounds of the actual like birria meat, diezmillo and troso. That is what you would say when you go to the carniceria. In English, it's called chuck steak. 10 chiles California. Next, you're also gonna need a large onion. I'm using a yellow one, a garlic head. You are also going to be using 10 bay leaves. Next, you are gonna need 3 tablespoons of chicken bouillon and also 1 tablespoon of salt. Lastly, you're gonna need about 8 carrots. And I know what you're thinking, hear me out. This is a little bit unusual. Maybe it's not super typical to see in birria. Just wait, because it makes all the difference. The first thing we're gonna do is start your water boiling. As you guys can see, I have this huge olla back here, and it's probably filled up about halfway with water. It'll just, you know, speed up the process once we start putting everything in there. First thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna cut the ends of my onion and I'm gonna peel it, and we're gonna dump this into the water. Cut it down the middle, kind of like in a cross, but without going all the way through. I just feel like it helps get the flavor out better as it's, you know, cooking in the agua. So let's go ahead and dump it in here. When you use a garlic head, I don't peel it. I just go ahead and cut the tops off so that it's like the garlic's exposed, and then you dump that in as well. Let me get my bolsita for all of the garbage. Every time you're making something with caldo, you definitely want to use something with the bone in, like whether it's just like your typical caldo de pollo or whatever. The flavor of the broth is all in the bone of whatever meat you're using. What I'm going to start off by doing is putting the chamorro pieces in first, so they go to the bottom, and I don't know why I do that, but I just put those in first. Put all of those in there. Now we're gonna go ahead and put the diezmillo and troso in as well. At this moment, also go ahead and add your bay leaves. And you're also gonna add in the salt and the chicken bouillon. That word bothers me deeply because I don't know if I'm saying it right. Just give it a little stir. I still have the burner on high heat because I wanted to pick up the boil, especially because we're, you know, bone in. You're gonna get all of those floaties from the carne, you know, that kind of makes your broth not look as clean. So we're gonna wait for those to float up to the top, and then we're gonna scoop them out, especially because when you make birria, you tend to have it, you know, with either serve it with some of the caldo or the consomme separately. So you want it to be clean because then it just looks prettier, you know, and you know, you eat with your eyes first. While that's going, I'm actually gonna go ahead and I'm gonna there's a term for it, I'm pretty sure, but basically les voy a sacar las semillas, like get rid of all of the, I think it's called depotting your chiles. I believe that's how you would say it. This recipe, I thought it was a little bit weird that they use carrots in the birria recipe. I've never had it like that, so I don't know if it's a common thing or not, but for me it wasn't, and I almost opted out of using the carrots in the recipe the first time that I did it, but I was like, no, let me just go ahead and follow it as it is. And if I don't like that for whatever reason, after I'm done with it, then next time I make it, I just won't put them in. It just tasted so good. So I think it just helps with the flavor of the broth as well. And then at the end, when you serve it, it was actually like really nice pairing to have like a carrot or two on the side of your plate with your birria. Definitely suggest, especially if it's the first time you try this recipe, to opt for using the zanahorias. So I'm gonna go ahead and I am gonna peel them. So I'm gonna go wash them real quick and then we're gonna cut them up. So I'm gonna cut all the butts off, or I guess not the butts, but the ends of the carrot. So these are actually pretty thick, so I think I'm gonna cut them in half, but then the thick half, I'm gonna cut that in half. So they're not all gonna look the same, but they'll kind of be around the same girth. I even dropped the carrot because that word makes me nervous. Grabbed a little bowl to put my carrots in here. We're all done, so I'm gonna get this cleaned up real quick, and I will see you guys once, you know, we're ready to move on to the next step. My water in my olla is actually boiling pretty hard right now. So at this point, I don't have a ton of the floaties at the top, but there are some. So I'm gonna clean it up. And as we go, if I see that my broth gets some more of those floaties, then we'll clean it out. Because at the end, for the consomme, I just want it to be like really clean, the caldo. I'm gonna actually also turn down the heat. Whenever you're making caldos and stuff, I've learned, and my mom would always tell me, like, once it hits like a good like boiling point, you do want to bring it down almost to like a simmer. And then also when you cook it on a slow simmer, it just, like, I don't know, I just feel like it cooks the meat so much better. And for birria, you do want the meat to be super soft and super easy to shred. The official senora bowl right here. But basically all the impurities of your caldo, that's what you want to get rid of. Like, you know, all the foamy parts. I mean, honestly, our broth looks pretty clean. So now we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna dump our chiles in here. You do want them to soak in, so just kind of push them down. I'm gonna try to hopefully keep them close to the top, so when I have to dig for them to blend them, it's not so much of a mission. Before we cover the olla up, I am gonna go ahead and put a handful of carrots in here. I'm gonna pick the thickest pieces since these are gonna be in here the longest. I still have this many left to add in later, so I'm gonna put some water in these so they don't dry up. Give this a nice little push. I also have turned the heat on this down to a, like, in between medium and low, and we're gonna cover it up. It usually takes about 2 to 3 hours, just depending how thick your pieces of the carne are. I don't know, your stove and the temperature, but you, like I said, you do want it to be more on the low side, because I feel like it slowly cooks the meat as opposed to like aggressively just like boiling the shit out of it, you know. I am gonna be also prepping like cebolla and cilantro for later. I will be making rice, but RJ and I have something going on that we're gonna be doing, so we won't be eating till later. A lot of you guys have been asking me, not because I'm the expert of micheladas, but to make a michelada. I have my ingredients out here for my michelada. They didn't have negra modelo, and that's what I prefer in my michelada. It just makes it like, we're settling for regular modelo this time. And I do like a very basic, simple recipe. I don't use any of those extra sauces and the hot sauce and all that. Very plain Jane with it. And I also don't have rim dip, which would be better. I just have regular chamoy. So I'm just gonna basically put a little bit, just kind of to get the tajín to stick, to make sure all the excess stuff just falls off, because I don't want it dripping down. I want to be like licking the bottom of the glass. Oh, and look at me with the recycled bottle of tajín. Saving the planet one tajín bottle at a time. There it is. Also put some in here. Sorry, little like ghetto moment using this big freaking salt shaker. And I'm just using the regular clamato. I feel like the one with lemon, that one's fire, but I just have plastic one. And that's pretty much all the clamato I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna go ahead and squeeze in the lime juice in here. I like mine really lemony. I don't know, I'm one of those Mexicans that likes limon on like everything and a lot of it. I'm gonna put the whole thing, and this is a big juicy one, so. Gotta do this real slow because the sodium in here makes it bubble up like crazy. Mix it. Because all the good stuff is at the bottom, you know? Ah, it's overflowing now. No. That was a close one. Cheers, this is how I make my micheladas. I hadn't had one in a while, so this is like hitting. Okay, Mommies, as you guys saw, I just went ahead and I finally chopped some red onion and a whole bunch of cilantro. I was gonna do less than what I actually did, but then I started thinking tomorrow when I have recalentado and I run out of cebolla or cilantro, I'm gonna be upset that I have to like chop some up in that moment. So I decided to just do a lot at once. So now it's been a little bit over an hour since our olla has been, you know, cooking and boiling. So I brought out my blender and I'm gonna take out the chiles. Remember how many of the chiles you put into your pot so that you can try to hopefully get them all in here. Also scoop in some of the caldo in here so that it blends very well. I think it blended very well, but I'm actually gonna still go ahead and strain it. Lastly, you don't want to lose any of the chile in here, so okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and drain the water out of the rest of my carrots and I'm gonna put them in there. At this point, we cover the olla back up and we are gonna let it cook probably for about another hour. At this point, the meat is essentially cooked, but it's just not as soft as I'd want it to be. I did taste it for salt and it's perfect so far. We'll taste it again later. Okay, Mommy, so after like 2.5 hours of cooking, I took out a piece of the carne and like, look it, just with this by itself, it's already, you know, coming apart. So that is how you know that it's done. Again, you should have checked it for salt. And if your meat is not fully soft yet and like falling apart like that, then keep cooking it maybe for like another 20 minutes or so. Like you don't want it to overcook either. Just check it until it gets like this because you don't want to have like super chewy birria. I am gonna try this real quick with you guys and then I'm gonna go sit down and enjoy it. I should be getting a spoon so I can get caldito, but let's try like this for now. My gosh, the broth is so fire. There's broth. Seriously, if you try this recipe, please don't opt out and use the carrots because the carrots are just so good with the caldito and the rice. Remember to tag me if you try any of my recipes. My Instagram handle is Nania_Yvette. I hope that you enjoyed this super easy birria recipe. That is gonna be it for this video. I will be back with more recipes and more cocktails for us to do together. Make sure that you give this video a big thumbs up. Also comment down below what other recipes you guys want to see me try. I'm always going to be open to your ideas. Lastly, let's close out this video by reminding everyone, if you can't stand the heat, then stay out the kitchen. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember, mommy, stay spicy, stay positive. I will see you guys on my next one. Peace.